ALTBAYS. ALTBAYS.
ALTBAYS. All right, peace, my brothers and sisters. This is ALTBAYS Show number 19. Ooh, good number. We're live in the beautiful ALTBAYS studio here in Fitianga. So if you have an idea of a show or if you want to run your own podcast, get in touch with us. Go to altbays.nz and we can give you a hand. We can make cool stuff happen. Okay. We're having a lot of fun running this show. It's been a pleasure. We get great feedback from the people in the streets, which is the coolest thing, and nice comments and messages, emails. So we really appreciate the support and how much the community is backing us up. We're doing this for us and for the community, for all of us. So we really appreciate suggestions. If you want to see someone here, if you want to recommend someone for us to have a chat with, we're happy to consider all the names. Soon you will find out how to become a sponsor or a supporter of this show, and also you will be able to become a member of our platform. We're up to something big. We're planning events, and there's a bunch of cool stuff happening, so stay tuned because this is only the beginning. It's not a comedy show, but we try our best. Tonight, as you can see, there's no one here next to me. Ow, sorry, my bad. Taylor just reminded me of something important. I really appreciate how much you guys are supporting our YouTube channel, the ALTBAYS.nz, and we have released the ALTBAYS clips where you can find the highlights of the shows. So for the people who cannot watch the whole conversation, we created this new channel where you can go and find the best parts of the conversations and see what you are interested in. And if you like it, you can go obviously and watch the whole show. So support our ALTBAYS clips. At this stage, the best thing you can do to support us is to go on our YouTube channel and subscribe, because that's how people monetize, if you don't know. That's why they say, subscribe to my channel. So we can get something out of this, because so far it's Taylor's and Leo's money going into everything. So we appreciate all the support that we can have. Okay. And as I was saying, no one is here next to me. COVID is here, my friends. You know, people are, you know, some people are under the weather and some other colds and viruses around. So a couple of our co-hosts, they were not feeling very well. So to keep everyone safe, we decided to do this just with me and with our beautiful guest that I'm about to introduce to you. So yeah, that's what's happening. So more than ever, I support your comments on our live chats. If you have questions, if you want to ask something, that will be very, very appreciated. How are you, Taylor? You good? You having a good night? I always ask how the co-hosts are, but tonight is
I'm good, thank you.
You having a good day?
I'm having a very good day, yeah. Dry.
Dry? Dry Monday?
Dry Monday.
Look at this table, man. Hey, look at these colors.
Great.
Beautiful, eh?
Beautiful.
Yes, it's a great way to introduce even more colors to our night, because I have the pleasure. She almost just broke the glass and the microphone at the same time. That's a great way to introduce our guest, Delphy Fernandez. How are you?
Thank you. Yeah, really good. Thanks. Yeah.
Thanks
really,
for coming.
Yeah, excited and a little bit nervous, you know, but I've never done this. So yeah, but I'm happy to chat with you guys, and yeah.
I'm glad you accepted our invitation and you're keen to talk about your life and the projects that you're involved in. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. And awesome work. Like, yeah, really, really impressed, and nice to see more people doing things with their hands and creating stuff that they love, and to share more with the community and create more community, like real community. So
you guys know very well about community work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So just even before we start, thank you so much for bringing all this beautiful fruits and all these beautiful handcrafted products that we're going to talk about in a minute. Delphy, for the people who don't know who you are, can you tell me a little bit what you've been up to in the last, couple of years, I would say?
Yeah, sure. Well, I've been in the Coromandel for almost 12 years now since I moved from South America. But I've been living at famous Wilderland for a couple of years now. And yeah, I've started as a volunteer, just came to check it out. Actually, as a friend of a friend of a friend, just to check it out, Ended up staying there, and I'm one of the trustees, and looking after the land, and there's so many things going on there, like so many different projects throughout the years. So yeah, we could get into many rabbit holes there. So
cool. All the rabbits and all the animals are there. I bet.
Yeah, exactly.
Delphy, I still work at the school, right? I think I told you, and some of my students, they watch the show, and some kids come and talk about the show, which is pretty cool. And then a student came to me and said today, who is coming to the show tonight? And then I said, Delphy, she lives and she works at Wilderland. And he's like, my dad told me that the Wilderland, it's a hippie cult.
I was hoping you would ask that.
And then I was like, thanks, man. You just gave me an idea to how to start the show. So for the people who have no idea what the Wilderland is, can you take us through, please?
Yeah, well, I'll try. I guess it'll be...
Try your best, please.
Yeah.
Probably will be better than my students, your explanation.
I mean, throughout time, for sure, and some parts have been what people would say, hippies living there on land, and I'm sort of consider myself something like that in some formats. I guess and I'm not, not ashamed of it.
Yes.
And I guess it depends what people attach to that word to. And I mean, Wilderland has been going for almost 60 years now. So it has started as an organic farm, one of first organic farms in New Zealand by Dan and Edith Hansen, who bought a rundown land, quite a lot of that peninsula, which now has been separated into, it's been sold a bit, but still quite a lot of land. And so they had background in agriculture, so they basically just planted lots of trees and grew lots of gardens and sold veggies and things like that. And then they started receiving people to help them, and sort of started this volunteer program, but not so official. It was I still yet to learn more about the history, but it was quite, they just had people come and help and live, and then they started building their own little houses, and more houses started popping out, and this was in the 70s, 80s, so of course there was a lot of global movements happening, and people wanting to, like, responding to different types of oppression and all sorts of things. So there's been all sorts of people, like thousands of people come through there. I think we received about 100 volunteers a year, maybe not so much since COVID, but before that. So it's quite a lot of volume of humans going past. And it's been from hippies, your classic, like, dreaded, rough looking hippie, and and then other people who are like really, beekeepers and administrative people, and people who do, yoga and teach things, musicians, for sure. Everybody,
So, did you say 100 people? It can be. You can get up to 100 people. Like, it would be one of the max capacity when it's a high season, or is the
not in at the same time, like in a whole year.
Right.
Yeah.
So how many people would stay when it's full? Like with all the.
We have like a legal capacity of 40 people. I've never seen it like that. I think last summer we were like 30 or 30 something. And that's a few people camping or living in their vans and things. So,
How do you get in? How do you get in touch? And how is the selection? How does it work?
So, at the moment, we have a website. and you can go to the website.
What is the
and
website?
The website is wilderland.org.nz.
Cool.
So just check it out there if you want to read a little bit more. We're in the process of trying to update it as well, because it's always changing as the world keeps changing. We're sort of, trying to adapt as well. And but anyway, you'll find the visit or volunteer part, and you send us an email, and there's a role in the community, which is the visitor host, and she or he, they get in touch with you. And at the moment, we have like a form that you fill with certain questions to kind of gauge what's going on. We've had things like post a video of yourself on our Facebook page, or send a photo, like different things, and just trying to see what works.
Cool.
In the past, it used to be like kind of like people just turned up, like just turned up. That happens sometimes. People are like, oh, I've heard about this place. Can I stay for a week? And we're like, I don't know, maybe. You got to, it's tricky because it's also people's homes, and we want to maintain this openness, but also some safety and respect. So, yeah. Interesting.
Do people pay as a rent thing, or there's a like a woofing kind of style? How does it work?
Yeah, so it is like a woofing. It's like it's volunteering. So it's nobody pays to be there at this stage. You get like a exchange, for food, and your accommodation and those kind of things, like use of facilities and.
Right.
Yeah.
So is it one big house full of bedrooms and people share? You said that some people do the camping and some other sleep in their cars, but like the bulk, like the majority of the people, are they all sharing one space, or there are different houses, different tents?
No. So we have like one communal area, which has like a hall and a kitchen and an office and a shower and a laundry, a nice cellar and all that kind of thing. So that's kind of like a bigger shared space. But then there's lots of little huts, and well, not lots, but there's a few huts and caravans. And then we have a few, I think it's 5 or 6 homes, like with their own kitchens and their own fireplace. So usually those, like the longer term residents live there, kind of for obvious reasons, because, it gets big. And they fit 2 to 3 people depending on the size. So yeah, it's quite big. So there's like little neighborhoods, and then people come together and they maybe cook together in the kitchen. And
is there a rotation for work? So like, do people do whatever they want? They know the jobs, or there's like, we're gonna work 4 hours a day or whatever. How is the work management part of the thing?
Yeah, well, that's kind of it's been in constant change for the last year, because noticing things that aren't working, and we're just trialing different things. So but we do sort of work together, kind of officially Monday to Friday. We do have a shop that runs 7 days a week at the moment, and markets on Sundays and sometimes Saturdays. So that goes on, harvesting, and we have some chickens. So some things, watering the gardens, kind of go all week. But generally we meet Monday to Friday in the mornings, and then we have a day that we plan for the week, and we have different, like, what we call team leaders at this stage, and they sort of organize a project or an area, and they get a team or a small team and kind of organize with them, and then we meet. Yeah, and then we join again for lunch at about 1 o'clock. So there's always a chef during the week as well, and most of us eat together, unless there's something else going on, Yeah. And we also work in the afternoons, and we take a break, and depends what's going on. But there's a lot of flexibility at this stage, which is quite nice. That's one of the things that I love about this compared to other jobs that I've been to. It's like, well, if you don't turn up on time consistently, you get fired, or people start like talking behind your back, or things like that. So there's a lot of room for movement and actually attending to, like, so if you're not coming on time every day, what's going on? Like, should we look into that? Is there, maybe you don't want to be here, or maybe you want to do something else? Or so
it's funny, isn't it? Because like even the comments, of course it was a naive comments, and someone young, but like a lot of people have those ideas, like, ooh, hippies, ooh, and then listening to you, like it sounds like the most natural thing that we should be doing, you know, like working when the sun is out, you know, like doing a little bit of work and resting and then going back in the afternoon and then paying attention. Well, maybe it's not time to work at all today, you know, because there will be a lot of work tomorrow or something is happening. It sounds more like natural for humans. And it's a collective anyway, so you got to pay attention to how the people are responding to it. And I guess you guys have this thing of community, as you just said, paying attention to what the people around you are feeling and what they want to do. So have you ever had the classic 9-to-5 job and doing all those things and then you change, or not? You always had more of an open-minded, free spirits attitude to life, if you can use those words. I don't know. Hope they don't sound bad. I think they're beautiful.
Well, definitely, I feel like I've always had that idea that there's something else is possible besides the 9-to-5 kind of concept, because of where I grew up and my parents. But it's still, you know, then my parents had like independent business growing up. So it was like, oh, it's possible to do your own thing kind of thing. But then after hearing all that, all my life, I was like, oh, what is it like to be in, you know, just working for somebody? So I did that for many years as well. And my last job before Wilderland, I was a baker. So my life was like 3 a.m. till 9 a.m. or 11 a.m. So it was really full on.
Wow.
And so it was great going from that to that.
Was it baking for like a cafe or like for
it was a
big?
bakery, yeah.
It was a bakery.
Yeah.
Full on?
Yeah. It was. We were quite a fancy bakery up north in Matakana. It was great times, but it was hard work. And I definitely, then that was after, because I've been traveling and then I went back to working. It was, I need to make some money. And then I was like, wow, okay, there has to be something else, because in my body, you know, just my health, something didn't feel right.
Yeah.
So now I'm exploring the other end, and it's definitely a lot of work. It's not like, you know, you can find jobs, you know, endless jobs, and you can get carried away, and you can do too much as well, physically and mentally and emotionally. So it's just, what I like is that the possibility of something different exists more obviously than at a 9-to-5 job. You know, it's like, well, if you don't comply with this, then it's not going to work out at all. Here's a bit more room for that. So.
You mentioned mom and dad doing different projects and where you grew up. Where did you grow up? Where were you born?
Where was I born? I was born in Chile. Yep. In southern country in South America. In a little place called Olmue, which is it was like in a little small mountain.
Cold?
It was hot and cold, so it was like in the center of Chile, so it was not too extreme, but a bit of mountains, so there was a bit of cold. And
was it close to Santiago?
Yes.
Yeah.
A couple of hours, maybe an hour sort of inland. Beautiful place. And we had like we grew up until 4 years old, like we had no electricity, just like candlelight, and there was orchards and gardens. And you know, my he built like the house, and my mom worked on the gardens, and they did like, you know, wholemeal bread and sold it and things like that. So it was very like, it was quite hard because of, you know, financially, I think they probably didn't have a lot of money, and they were, you know, raising 2 girls, and my parents were both foreigners as well. My mom's from New Zealand and my dad was from Argentina. So already...
Oh, so dad was born in Argentina.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm only Chilean because I was born there and lived there like half my life. So yeah, so that was like my bringing. We were just like wild kids, like hanging out in the mountain and eating fresh fruits and, you know, chickens and, you know, eggs and... natural buildings and all that kind of thing. So I had that already in me, and my parents were like always talked about like the importance of connection with like nature and earth, and as a spiritual practice, I guess, and also as a generally to be grounded, you know. So it sort of that helped me carry that, you know, throughout then living in the city. And we were like, I think we moved to the city when I was 4. And
which city?
Santiago. So that's going from like a really remote place to like the capital of Chile, which is like kind of a dirty big city, you know, like polluted.
As cities are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of concrete, you know, and I think my parents saying that they sort of let us walk, and we were like ran straight to the first park and like took our clothes off and kind of ran to the first tree and tried to climb on the, you know, it was like a sense of like, oh, what is this, you know? Yeah.
Right. And then Santiago. And then when was the move to New Zealand?
The move, well, then we moved to Concepcion, which is a city further south. So that's where I lived then, like my growing up, which was nice not to grow in a big city. And then we moved in 2011, I think. We moved to New Zealand. Yeah, with my mother and my sister.
Straight to the Coromandel?
Straight to the Coromandel.
So your mom is from the Coromandel, or was just an idea to come to this area?
No, I think she's originally from Morrinsville. And I think they used to come here for holidays with us kids, you know, and just maybe someone had a holiday home and just enjoy Hot Water Beach, all the beautiful places. And she had this memory. And then my uncle, who's also a local here, is living here, and my mom liked the idea of like moving away from the city, her girls being able to go to Magri Bay Area school and like have access to like a different, you know, like small town beaches. Like, she liked the idea of that. And we were, you know, I was like 16, so, you know, I was like, yeah, whatever, mom, whatever you think is best, you know.
Were you raised speaking Spanish and English, or mom would not speak much English at home?
Yeah, good question. Well, mostly Spanish. Yeah. And mom really tried to speak to us in English, but it was hard because, well, my father didn't really speak English much. So, yeah, there was not a lot of time to do that. But, you know, I think on the first few years when we were babies, she used to speak to us a lot, because I feel like when I started, I mean, my accent is quite strong, but when I learned English, it wasn't so hard for me when I moved here and I studied English all my life at school.
It made sense.
Yeah, it was like, it was so easy for me to pick it up. So I think it helped to be spoken to in English.
Right.
Yeah.
And how is mom Spanish?
Oh, it's great. Yeah, yeah.
Great.
I mean, she lived in South America for like 15 years or so, and she traveled there as a young, you know, backpacker all around, even in Brazil and different places. So yeah, her Spanish. She has a very good Chilean Spanish.
Right. I think I think one of the hardest ones.
Yeah.
In my humble view of a Spanish speaker, every time that I meet Chileans, is like, why?
Yeah.
God. Like so different. And there's a thing with not opening the mouth that much. I'm like, come on, help me here.
Yeah.
But
totally.
Cool. I will remember next time I'll see your mom. I'm like, cool, let's practice some Spanish.
Yeah.
Chilean. Cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so then New Zealand, when did you feel like, okay, now it's time for me to do my traveling, to get out of here, to go around? Did you go around New Zealand, or you actually traveled more overseas, went back to South America? How was the move to go and explore?
Yeah, I think for me, when I moved here, it was like New Zealand felt like such a new thing, like lots to discover here. So I took maybe the first 6 years that I was here to just really get into it. I was talking to a lot of my friends back in Chile, and they were like, oh, when are you going to come? And they kind of missed me, and I missed it. But part of me was like, I wasn't ready. It's like, why am I going back for? I just moved here, and it's quite an adjustment, like the language and culturally. And it was, at 17 years old, it was like a heartbreak to move here, you know, in some ways. So, I think when I finished school, and then I just started working, saving money, bought myself like a tiny little van and just traveled around New Zealand, did the classic like travel in the van. And I did that, you know, one time, and then I went down to the South Island again, and then I ended up staying in the South Island. And Christchurch and Nelson, just doing woofing and different jobs.
I was about to ask that. So when you were traveling, you were already tapping into the woofing, working at like organic?
Well, not very little.
Okay.
Yeah, like I was coming out of like a hospitality background, and then I got into like the health and healing, and that's kind of where it always had in touch with nature. That was like a part of me. So, and then I just had this urgent urge. I have to go back to South America. Like this is 6 years later, so I was like, I'm 20 something, 23, 24. I haven't seen my family for a while. So yeah, I went back and maybe 2 years there, backpacking in my own country, which was great because it's like.
So most of the time in Chile.
Yes, between Chile and Argentina, where the other part of my family is. So I managed to travel with my sister a bit, and we just basically traveled between visiting all of my friends and family around the country. So it was great because literally accommodation I had paid maybe once or twice.
Right.
And a lot of devo, which is like hitchhiking. So yeah, we managed a lot of free rides.
Okay, because that cool. I want to bring that. That's cool. A lot of travelers, they come to New Zealand and they ask me about the hitchhiking thing, and I actually read this article a few years ago that New Zealand is probably one of the safest countries to hitchhike in the world. And then people ask, oh, would you do that in Brazil? How does it work? And I'm like, well, you can do that anywhere, right? But it's just like how safe, how cool you feel about that. How did it feel like to do these things in South America?
Yeah. Well, I think the first time I hitchhiked, it was in New Zealand. Actually, it was between Nelson and Christchurch, and this Argentinian friend, she was like, let's do it. And she was very experienced, and I was like, sure, whatever. And it was actually great. It was like quicker than driving yourself.
Great.
Pretty sweet. But so that was my one experience. And then when I went back, then my sister had been hitchhiking for like years, so she was like a pro. She'd been in like buses between Brazil and Argentina with like dodgy ass truck drivers and all sorts of crazy stuff that parents don't want to know, kind of thing.
Yep.
And so she knew the tricks, so I sort of trusted her, and then we developed like a way of figuring it out. And mostly I felt pretty comfortable. I think I learned a lot about what one could say like magic, or like sort of manifesting what you want and what you need.
Yeah.
In that time, because we were like, okay, so we need to arrive this place by this time, and we want the ride to be safe. We sort of like just talked about that as we were getting ready, because sometimes it was very long days and it's kind of tiring because you talk to people, you engage with them if they want to, and you give them something because they're offering you something. So it's work. So yeah, I learned a lot about we had some really magical rides, like literally on our door, leave you right at your door, really. I mean, I had a few dodgy situations, which is like, I won't do that again. I don't think that was risky, but yeah, I was lucky that it was all good, but yeah. And
sometimes people get out of their ways, to take you to a place, and those beautiful things happen sometimes.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's funny because people will say, for girls it's easy, like people will stop for girls, and I'm like, yeah, but it's dangerous as well, like the risk is much bigger for a woman, especially in places like South America, I would say. So good on you for putting yourself in those situations, and the way that you are, the way that you look, the way that you present yourself to the situation also counts, right? It's when you're comfortable about what you're doing and you're confident. Yeah, I think it's easier for people to help. And I love what you said about the attraction, So before we tap into that, because I love the chat, I just want to check some couple of things that you brought here.
So forgot about these things.
Do you wanna take us through this beautiful? Which one first?
Okay, maybe I'll show this one first.
Okay.
So some of you might know, where should I show it?
So this one is your camera here, but also the one in the middle, yeah.
Cool. So this is kumaraho. I'm sure a lot of New Zealanders know this plant. I just brought it as a gift to show guys because we have an abundance of it at Wilderland, and it's also a pretty amazing medicine from New Zealand, and especially in these times with like respiratory illnesses and coughs and mucus and all this kind of things. And we have heaps where we are. So if you need some, you can go to our shop and contact us. And it's just beautiful. And what I love about this is actually we had a fire about 5 years ago at Wilderland.
I remember that.
A pretty big fire up there, and all of the lands that burnt, now they're all full of this kumaraho and a bit of manuka and a few other things. so it's, to me, it's pretty interesting to see, like, oh, after this sort of disaster and quite a hardship for the people that were there at the time, and still today there are some repercussions, and this beautiful medicine came. So yeah, I just thought I'd share that. I know that a lot of also local Maori people as well would know, and might want to get some or need some. So yeah, just get in touch with us.
So you mentioned that is good for respiratory. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. So, well, can't say that it will cure your COVID, but it will for sure help if you're having symptoms.
Overall, yeah,
it will help. It's really good if you often have like coughs and like blocked sort of chest infections, all this, anything to do with the lungs. So yeah, it's quite a strong bitter plant. So yeah, you don't need a lot of it.
Would you make a tea or something? What is the best?
Yeah, you can make a tea, maybe 1 or 2 leaves per cup, and you can boil it for a bit, or leave it like overnight to slowly infuse after pouring boiling water.
Right.
Yeah.
It is super sharp.
Yes,
yeah,
it's quite
nice.
bitter. It's like really good to help detox the body. You know, it also supports the liver and the kidneys, and I think they used to use it anciently. Another cool thing. It has saponins, which is a component that's in soap. So if you rub this with water, it goes all soapy, and you have soap. So if you're in the bush and you're like need to wash a wound or need to wash your body for whatever reason, then you got soap. So yeah.
So I think we're gonna share with our co-hosts, Papa. They will like this. This is fantastic. And then you actually have the one that you guys sell at the Wilderland, which is look
so
at
then
that.
we package it like that, dry it in little bags like this, and
fantastic. So I'm just gonna put it at the front here so people can see. Kumaraho, respiratory health, skin clarifying, digestive cleansing. Oh, digestive cleansing is a king, eh? Especially nowadays with so much crap food that we eat. There we go.
Yeah.
Boom. What else? We got
What
more.
else?
What else? What else have we got?
I brought some plum syrup as well, which this last year we've been experimenting with fruit syrups, kind of like cordial idea. So you put a little bit in water, and then you dilute it, or you have it. You know, if people like cocktails and things like that, you can do that, or as a hot drink in the winter. And this is infused with bay leaves as well, which is one of my new favorite medicines as well.
Red plum and bay leaves.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. That's cool.
Oh yeah, hope you get to try that.
Nice. Can I have a look?
Yeah.
Red plum, bay leaf syrup.
Because
rich fragrance plum tonic. Rich antioxidant red plum tonic infused with vitamin-packed bay leaves to help support the digestive system and bring a relaxing drink to your lips. Ooh, good advertising as well. Good writing. Beautiful. So let's put...
Well, we have an abundance of fruit at Wilderland, like literally too much.
I want to get there so much in the subject.
You guys should come visit someday.
We will.
Yeah, we would love to host you. Yeah.
Do some nice recordings there, to get some images from you guys. And this one here?
And this one's mugwort, which is not a native from New Zealand, but we happen to have lots of it as well on the land. And this is one of our best sellers as well as the kumaraho and a couple of others. And yeah, the mugwort's known for like sleep support. It's quite a relaxing as a uterine tonic, so when people are in their menstruation cycle, and some people really like it because it helps you with like lucid dreaming and things like that.
Kind of like Damiana.
Yeah, it helps you remember your dreams, and sometimes really vivid. So
fantastic.
I would encourage you don't drink big amounts of that at the beginning, because it's you just jetto. But I've had people really come back for it when they have issues sleeping at night, and it really helps. So
check this one, Papa. Check this out. Immune boosting Dreamtime herb, anxiety relief.
And that just pops out wild.
So people, everyone in the world should have this. Anxiety relief. God damn. Can you see it there, Taylor? If we leave it here? Yeah? Oops, sorry. Not anymore. There you go. So shout out to the people from the Wilderland
Yeah.
for this beautiful presents. Fantastic. Look at that.
Thanks,
Oh,
team, for harvesting for us today. And shout out to
Yeah.
everyone there for
beautiful
supporting.
avocados and apples. Okay, so I want to get into the healing parts of your life, which apparently is a very meaningful thing. But just to get a segue there, tell me about the fruits, because for me, food is medicine, right? The right food is actually medicine. So you were saying that the Wilderland has a lot of varieties. Do you know how many? Would you be able to? Do you have an idea of how many fruit trees you guys would have there? Just like an average, not.
I don't know how many trees, but there's like lots of a few different things. Like there are like apple orchards. And lots of avocados. We eat avocados all year round, so that's pretty awesome. Like we have Reed, Avos, Haas, Bacon, something, a couple of others that I don't know what their names are. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. They're not like in orchards. They're spread around. We have guavas, we have feijoas, tangelos. We have lots of tangelos and gold fruit, which is like a grapefruit but sweeter.
Gold fruit.
Gold fruit. Yeah.
Haven't tried that one.
Yeah, they're like a big sort of
Oh, really?
citrus. Yeah, really nice. Yeah,
Gold fruit.
gold fruit. Mandarins, a few lemons, different types of plums like the red plum and Louisa
yummy.
plums and
You got the yellow ones.
the
you got
yellow
red-
ones. Yeah, I think you
Yummy.
got some from the market. Yeah.
Yeah.
What else? We have some chirimoyas, which is a South American.
Oh, cherry moyas.
Yeah, and sapote.
I love these last two. I think they're
Yeah.
like my
Yeah,
top fruits
yeah,
ever. Sapote.
yeah. I agree.
How many sapote trees do you have? It's quite a rare tree, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, because it is, not from New Zealand, I guess. And although, yeah, there's quite a few, but only one seems to be fruiting at the moment. So we're propagating lots. So part of our job, we're just bringing in more of those kind of plants like chirimoyas and more like subtropical plants, because also the way the weather's changing is allowing us to have more of those kind of fruits.
Yeah.
We have loads of banana trees, which are some of them, really little, like 1 or 2 bunches a year, but we planted like 100 last year. So
Cool.
at the end of the year or two, we should have loads of local, small bananas and plantains.
Without those huge spiders, right? Do you know about that? That
Oh.
actually in Africa, in South America as well, Papa? Yeah, in South America as well. So the thing with the banana trees is that they attract these massive spiders, these banana spiders. I don't know how easy it would be to find a picture or something, but yeah. So a lot of people say like, oh yeah, bananas everywhere, but actually it
Yeah.
comes with a price
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's this massive, huge spider that at least in South America and I think in Africa as well, a lot of places that grow
Sounds
bananas.
like it
So
would,
I'm thinking that probably New Zealand wouldn't have that.
yeah, no,
that problem.
we're pretty mild here with our bugs, aren't we? So yeah.
Nice. Bananas. Okay. What
yeah.
else? What else? I'm loving this list.
What else? I planted some lucuma recently, which is also a Chilean plant.
Is that the lucuma?
Yeah.
Is that the little round one that comes involved in a little shell kind of thing? Nah, it's not.
No, it's like
what is lucuma?
orange. Orange on the inside. It has like a dark green skin. And then on the inside, it's like powdery and creamy at the same time. It's a strange thing.
Lucuma.
But that was one of my favorite things back from where I'm from. So, but they're still babies, so a few years for that.
Is that the name in South America as well? Lucuma?
Yeah.
Do you remember lucuma, Papa? I don't remember either.
Yeah, it's like
Lucuma.
Yeah, mostly like Chile, Peru. So yeah.
Right.
What other fruit trees? Maybe some grapes, a few grapes.
Nice.
Kiwi fruit,
Kiwi
pears.
fruit. Okay.
Tamarillos.
Beautiful.
Tree tomatoes.
Oh, tamarillos. Nice. They get so expensive, eh?
Yeah.
To buy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you guys get to send these fruits to other places, or it's all local, consumed by the people from the Wilderland, and then you sell in the markets, or is there a plan for like that the Wilderland send these products and the fruits to other places in New Zealand or around the world? How does it work?
Yeah, for the fruits, I mean, we do eat a lot of it, but obviously depends how many people are there. We just can't possibly eat it all. So obviously we have a shop on the road to Whitianga and between Whitianga and Aotearoa, so we sell our produce there. We have the markets, as you said, and we also preserve a lot. So we do things like chutneys or dehydrated things, vinegars, like with our apples and plums. We mostly do vinegars because they're just
Apple
high
cider
value.
vinegar
Yeah.
is king, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So this Japanese friend Kimiko, shout out to Kimiko, love you. She taught me this. She was like, if you wanna like good skin and healthy digestive system, it's a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar in the morning, a little bit of lemon juice maybe or something. But wow, it's powerful.
Yeah,
it's a great thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you guys make your own there.
We're in the process. I think tomorrow we're measuring the pH and seeing if it's ready. So it's exciting. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we have some contacts with sometimes organic shops that we have supplied the Thames co-op there before, but yeah, like we don't necessarily have that much, and because if we try to preserve, we sort of use most of it, and we also have some chickens, and obviously some the birds eat and all that. We do post. Sometimes people are like, hey, can I buy 30 avos? Sure, like things like that. Yeah. And freezing, making ice cream. Like last year, at the beginning of the market season, we were making avocado ice cream.
Ooh.
Avocado and cacao. So good. And Tangelo.
Wow.
Tangelo juice ice cream. Yeah, that was good. So.
There's this funny thing about avocados, because the thing is, in Brazil, people eat avocado with condensed milk. So avocado is like a sweet stuff, because if you think about avocado, it's quite bland, right?
Yeah.
Like it's nice with on toast and salt and pepper, because you're adding salt and pepper. Yeah. So in Brazil, when I tell my friends in Brazil that people in New Zealand eat with salt and pepper, they're disgusted. They're like,
really? Yeah.
What? Because there's this tradition of smashing the avocado, putting like condensed milk or whatever sugary stuff you can, and putting in the freezer to make ice cream.
Like an ice cream, yeah.
Yeah, but when I tell Kiwis that we do that, it's the same reaction. They're like, oh, that's disgusting. Why would you do that? But Brazilians don't know that probably we're the only ones who do that. But yeah, like it's always guacamole or something. Like it's always salty. So I tell them, I say, you guys are the weird ones for the rest of the world. But they like to be, oh, look at that. Hey, oh.
Oh, yeah, no, I had definitely not seen those. Oh, it's a Brazilian spider. There you go.
It's the Brazilian wandering spiders. Bites and other facts. The spider's name means murderous in Greek, which is appropriate for the deadly arachnid. Yeah, so Taylor just found some pictures from the banana spiders that we were talking about. Yeah. Its bite, which delivers neurotoxic venom, can be deadly to humans, especially children, although anti-venom makes death unlikely. So when you're eating your beautiful organic bananas from South America, be appreciative that, there's a lot of people taking big risks to bring those. That's the thing, people forget those details, that it's not easy to grow food, especially organic food, right? Because as you said, like, I think it's beautiful. And when I grow my veggies and my things, like, I see that there are bugs eating them. I do my best to avoid that to happen. But I'm like, well, it's an ecosystem. Of course, animals are going to go after them. Yeah. But it feels like people forget about this part. Yeah. How do you guys deal with pests and all that stuff? Is it like a kind of a permaculture kind of style? How does it work?
Yeah, so I think throughout the years it's been different styles with different people. I mean, we've used the word organic next to our brand for some time, and we're not certified anymore. But that means, we don't use chemicals and toxic ingredients to the soil or sprays and things like that. I mean, we are having issues with guava moth, which a lot of people around New Zealand are having, especially with our fruit trees, a lot of our fruit trees. So we lose quite a bit to that at the moment. And we've been looking into using things like neem oil, which comes from the neem tree. I sometimes use it to spray when there's like little bugs around like plants and things. But we've been talking a lot about, when your soil is healthy, then then your plant has a better ability to deal with pests and bugs and things. So
okay.
yeah, so we're trying to also approach it from that. So what's happening in the soil? So that's to do with like microbiology and all the sort of bacterial and fungal and all the microbes. What's happening there, which you can't see. You know, like in our gut, how they talk about that gut health. It's kind of like that. And at the moment, like around the world and in the wilderness, all you can also see there's some areas that the soil is more degraded and there's more challenges, especially for like vegetable gardening. You can tell like a lot of use throughout time and certain ways of gardening, and that I think that's to me has a lot of analogies with like what's going on out there in the world and the way we treat our bodies and each other like on a large scale. So yeah.
What does it take to get the certified organic tag on it? It kind of, I don't know, I don't want to sound like, I just don't know much about it, but like sometimes it feels like it's more of a marketing thing than actually, so what is it all about?
Yeah, so I mean, I learned heaps that we were doing it last year, and yeah, it's a lot of work because basically there are some guidelines and some regulations of things. So you basically have to record everything that you do, what inputs, what things you bring from the outside, and how you make your compost. You got to measure your temperatures, and you know there are a lot of guidelines, seeds, everything that you're buying from the outside. You got to record so that they can see that you're actually following what you're saying. So you're not just saying, I'm not putting things and nobody can see it. So yeah, it takes a lot of writing down. So you got to be really consistent,
Right.
Which is, it's not a problem, but for us having so many different areas and often different gardeners and all this, it got a bit tricky to record everything.
Yep.
And then, yeah, it just took a lot of time as well. And we're just like really busy and, learning the process, and we were being supported amazingly by other people in the community that like in the wider peninsula community that have organic and stuff, and they were teaching us a lot. But I think they were like getting a bit like, oh, you guys hand over again. Like we're getting a bit like, you guys get your act together kind of thing. And yeah, I guess we're also just, well, the word organic itself means something, and then this is certified organic, but yeah, we just didn't feel like it was necessary anymore to put that effort into that. Like also wanting to teach people about what is it like to grow things in a natural way. And yeah, it just seemed tricky. I think it's still worth it if people can do it. I think it's still worth it because it supports the movement of
Definitely.
of not using chemicals and following guidelines that are a lot healthier for us and for the earth than not. But for me, the crazy thing that was really annoying me is that why do people following organic practices have to have this very strict guidelines, and what about all the other farmers that are like, I was mind blowing. So that's another chat, but
it should be like certified shit or certified crap food. Should come with a new stamp.
Exactly. I mean, why not? It makes sense.
Yeah.
So.
Certified not food. Great. Let's come up with some new tags. ALTBAYS. Yeah, we're gonna start a new thing.
Yeah.
Go. Thank you so much for doing that. Like for being on Wilderland, like being in that space and teaching people, like I think that's the main thing. So I understand that sometimes a word or a stamp is not going to stop you guys from doing what you're doing. Like that's what I appreciate. Like all it takes is going there, right? So everybody's welcome to go and have a look, see the shop and see you guys. And like you understand that that's the real thing, right? You understand that you guys are putting the love and putting the efforts and putting the time on the lands without making those big projects of like spraying everything and going with airplanes and ruining the soil and everything. So kudos,
thanks for supporting us, and
kudos to Wilderland. How does the thing with healing and understanding the connection with everything that we put in our bodies and the way that we deal with life and our way of thinking, when did that become a thing for you? When did you make sense of those things? And
good question.
I like that. It took a second to think. There we go.
Well, it feels like it's always been in my radar because of where I grew up, where I told you before, and kind of like always connected to the land. And my parents always had this thing about food and lifestyle and making sure we took time to be like outside and in the nature. So that was sort of always, my parents worked in like healing in some form. They were sort of coaches, and so in their own way they were working. And my mom always did things like other sort of alternative, natural medicine and homeopathy. So it was always in my radar. You know, we did massage. We just learned massage from very little ages and had essential oil. So always, you know, part of our growing up and of our lifestyle. And that was to me, like I was just like a pretty healthy kid, and I was just like, all of the kids was just getting sick every winter and being out of school for weeks, and we were always like, oh, we just took some of these things and did that, and of course we got sick, and it was fine, you know. But it was never a big drama, you know. It was like we just got through it and supported each other, and but yeah, we did have my mom especially that knew a lot about herbs and plants, so she'd been studying that in her life. So yeah, I just knew, I was like, oh, of course it makes sense, it's normal, you know. And I'm sure a lot of people out there will be like, yeah, me too, you know. Like it's just it's out there. It's in every country has their own native and other medicines that have been spread around the world. So, and food, of course, like food is a big one, you know, as we were talking about, like pesticides and things. That's another big way. Living, you know, not in big cities and near pollution and big sounds, like those are big things. Like I think from living in, especially in the Coromandel, and now where I am now, like, yeah, when I go to a big city, I'm just like,
a bit overwhelmed.
Yeah, definitely all the noises and the pollution and the cars, the fast pace. I can tell how that I have to be like mindful of how I'm interacting and, you know, working from that place of like centeredness to like bring something of joy. Like when I went back to South America, everyone was like doing their thing, you know, that my friends were finishing university, working, and I'm just backpacking, enjoying life and sharing. Oh, you just come from New Zealand, you're lucky, you know, you know, you can just travel and do nothing. And like they were a little bit jealous and a little bit like feeling like they couldn't do it themselves, you know. And that's why I love when I go to a city or a place where this is strange, that to sharing that, you know, because there's always healing in that when somebody is like sharing their journey of, oh, look what I made with this nice fruit. And that's, oh, how did you do that? And like that could be such a simple thing that can just bring a lot of, you know, healing in its own way, or getting somebody started into a journey of discovering something for themselves. You know? But yeah, I guess when I was traveling the first time in my van, I arrived in Christchurch and I applied for some woofing in a retreat in Diamond Harbour, and I was like her assistant, and she did like body therapy and aromatherapy and a lot of emotional and spiritual practices as well, like yoga and meditation and other types of healing practices. So I just became her assistant, and then I ended up working with her for quite a while, and she taught me an aromatherapy massage. So then we got on quite well, and I did the cooking and the gardening a bit, and then the massage. And I'm like, oh, cool, this is an actual thing. People like, you know, people went in for a retreat for a week to work with like their body health and detox, but also like the emotional health and trauma. And I was quite young then. I was like 22, so I was just like getting to witness people going through things like some of them pretty, you know, serious and full on. And that was like so amazing for me, because I was always quite interested in like personal growth, but being such a witness to other people and also sharing my journey with them. It was quite an open, it was like a house. We shared a house. And we like made beautiful food for them. And yeah, that was like first thing of like, oh, this could be a thing that somebody can do, you know, also for like, you know, in exchange for money, for example, and a lifestyle, and yeah, share in different ways. So yeah, that was like my first sort of like, oh, I could do this more, you know, and opened my eyes to other ways, like with the body therapy and yeah, things like that. Yeah.
Most of the medicines, when I mean like drugs, like pharmaceuticals, they come from plants, right? People find something there, and then they're processed, they're turned into pills, and people trust the pills. why are we so skeptical about the herb itself, about nature, you know, like, because even in New Zealand, right? I'm not even sure if it's legal to have like a section of natural, we call it alternative, which is weird because it's actually nature. What is alternative about nature? I don't know. But why are we taught to be skeptical and not trust natural ways of healing when actually everything comes from nature? What do you think?
Whew. Yeah, I think this could go into like a deep dialogue, possibly. But
we got time.
But I think to me this is part of this thing of, you know.
I love your pauses, by the way.
I just like my thinking.
Yeah, have some water. Let's go. Let's do this.
Yeah. Obrigado.
De nada.
Yeah, it's funny because for me it was always like, of course it makes sense, you know, that was my natural way of you know, I was taught that plants and food and all those things are just spending time in nature. That's the natural way. And people around me were like, oh, just take the aspirin for things. I was like, you don't need it. You just need to stay in bed for like a whole day. So I think it's part of this bigger sort of what's been happening to humans in society, kind of like we work to live, you know, it's all about like production and productivity and exploitation. I mean, you know, it goes back many centuries ago. You know, you could talk about like patriarchal societies. It depends, you know, how far into it you want to get to. And yeah, that's taken away. I think it's to do with like taking away people's power. I don't know. I would say, you know, if a human is empowered and they know like how to feed themselves, how to nurture themselves and those around, how to do the basic things, you know, like indigenous people, let's say, you know, like in the Amazon, and they're like, they know their land and what's available and when to do it and when not to do it. And then we have houses with that we can't feel what's going on outside. It's like, no, I don't feel the wind, and we start getting separated from what's going on. So then it's like we don't know. It's like we lost our ability to know what we need, to listen. Also, I think on an emotional and maybe mental side, it's like we sort of like we spend a lot of time avoiding what we're feeling, and I think that's, you know, it reflects on in my experience with physical health. You know, if I'm just like rushing through life and avoiding this pain, that this nagging pain, I'm like, I'm just got to pain it, but I've got to push through it, ignore it. And then actually, if I take your time and just like breathe, I'm like, what's going on? I was like, oh yeah, I'm experiencing a little bit of anxiety. What's going on? You know, what's deeper? And then layers start coming up, and maybe, you know, something happened earlier or a memory from a childhood thing. And so, yeah, then all of a sudden everything starts weaving together, you know, like connection with food, connection to myself. So if I don't know how I feel and what this pain means in my body, how would I know, you know, what's this plant here and how do I take it and when and all this. So yeah, I think a big job we have, like, you know, people like that live in places like me or anybody really that has any interest, is to like reconnect with the place that you are, and especially oneself. I would say go in first. I mainly say to remind myself, you know, because it's easy to look out for answers and to see why the world isn't the way that I wanted, and why people don't see the truth or whatever, you know. But it's like, but look inside, you know, that's a constant exercise, and nature or my environment is a constant reflection of that. It seems to me. So yeah, little ways we can empower ourselves is just like learning what's really on your immediate, even if it's not native, you know, could be a little dandelion in front of you, and just empowering, making you or me the people who have the choice, and being like, okay, cool, I can figure out what's going on. Like, I guess we used to like getting everything given, you know, like I go to the doctor knows what's best for me. So I just go there and trust blindly, maybe. I'm sure a lot of people don't, you know, but it happens quite often, and we sort of want the answer. We want the magical pill kind of vibe, or the magical video on Facebook that will make all my problems go away, or the girlfriend or the boyfriend that will just like help me not to think about like my deep childhood trauma or whatever, you know.
In 3 minutes, in a YouTube video in 3 minutes,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. How to heal a lifetime trauma. Okay. So beautiful what you're saying. You know,
Thanks.
like it's so much power in so little. So sorry, carry on.
No, that's so good. Thanks,
Because we, you know, people ask, oh man, you got this show, you got this opportunity now, you know, like to do this alternative thing and talk about things. Are you gonna talk about the polemic shit? I'm like, this is all surface for me, you know, like this side, that side, living in fear, living in more fear. You know, like, what do you want me to say? Why do you want me to be polemic if I think that it's exactly what you're saying? Like, we keep taking the power out of people, and then all it's left, it's anxiety, it's stress, you know? So, like, people start to fight against each other. And I'm like, why do you want me to be polemic if we're all losing by being polemic? You know, like, you're not helping the bros, man. You're not helping the community by having a different opinion. Why don't we go after the people who are causing this to us, you know? Like, so that's why I believe so much on what you guys are doing. It's the real work, you know? Like, it's explaining to people what the healthy food is all about, and touching the soil, you know, like, and feeling the codes, you know? Like, there's a reason why the body knows when it's cold and when it's hot, right? We should be able to put up with that. You know, beautiful what you said. Oh, the house is all good for it. Of course, everybody loves a warm house. I'm not saying that you should live, you know, in the snow or whatever. But like, as soon as you get that little breeze, you're sick.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
So what's the point, right? Do you have your moments of struggling and going through things that you don't know where they're coming from, or you feel like you're breathing and your mindset usually responds quickly and you can assimilate and understand what causes you some stress or anxiety? Quite of a personal one, but if you don't mind sharing.
No, that's cool.
Cheers.
That's what I'm all about.
There you go. Boom.
Yeah, what we're calling it, deep culture change, and like a lot of looking in, and it's part of my journey as well, like personally, and I have my moments for sure, like regularly, I guess, about like just like emotions I don't understand, and different. I'm also almost 29, so some people that follow astrology, they call it the Saturn return, which is like it's a certain time in life where there's a lot of like revisiting of like what's going on here. It's what's been happening in my life before, kind of like a evaluation of values and of the ego in some ways. And I feel like I'm especially in a heightened time of my life where like a lot of things are coming to like, who are you and what are you here for? I don't know if you guys experience something like that.
Yep.
So it feels pretty intense sometimes. But I have a lot of interest in like exploring that, and at the moment I'm quite supported with humans that like have different tools to work with that, and I also do a lot of like art therapy. It's one of my other interests. In which
What kind of art? What?
Just generally any form of art. My ones that I love the most for myself, it's movement, so like dance. Like whatever dance, so I do also belly dance and African dance, drumming, like African drums, and painting or playing with clay, things like that. So that's also part of like my tool belt. One of my tools that I have.
Better than an aspirin.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, way more fun. But it does take that little bit like, I just want to cry and feel sorry for myself. Like, why don't I just go take a walk and see what it feels like? Put your headphones, listen to some like African drumming, and then all of a sudden I'm like, ooh. And it's not like I'm all of a sudden happy and my problems are gone, but it's like it helps me to like, okay, what's going on here? Yeah.
And nothing wrong with crying, right? Sometimes all you need is a good crying, like for long. Do it, man. Let it out.
Yep. Yeah. I agree. I definitely cry a lot sometimes.
Art therapy. I love that. That's why I'm still drumming, you know, and I think I'm gonna do that for a while in my life, because it's much more a therapy than actually a job or a career or whatever. It's just like it makes me feel good. You know, like I don't have that thing with being violent or wanting to smash people in the streets, you know, like I just go and smash my drums, you know, and then I laugh at the people who are, you know, doing shit at me. I'm like, well, it's bad for you. I think I had this thing a few years ago, and it's really helping me. Like every time that I acknowledge a bad feeling coming, I keep thinking, well, this is damaging me only. You know, the person who I'm angry at or upset or whatever is not feeling my feelings, you know, like I'm only damaging myself with this, you know, I'm angry. I'm angry at that person. It's not going to change much for the person, right? So like what's the point? So this thing with releasing and letting go and moving is essential, right? Like and that's another cool thing that I appreciate that you guys do so much, because you're working with the mind and the physique at the same time with your body, right? You're keeping active. So you're working, and at the same time you're exercising in a way.
Yeah.
Right? So you're connecting all those things. I read an article at the Seagull magazine about earthing, about the importance of touching the soil, bare feet, and is it something that you ever tapped into?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like study it much as in like a science, but I often walk barefooted. And a lot of people that live where I live do it as well. So it's you'll definitely see us like at the markets barefooted and enjoying the grass. And it does seem to make a difference. On that note, I have a friend who lives with us, and he's got quite a lot of sensitivity to electromagnetic fields, like anything that comes from Wi-Fi, even electricity as well. It's like it slowly generates the brain, but it basically on short term it gives you like headaches and sweating, foggy mind. Yeah, it's quite full on. And for him, walking on the bare earth, it helps a lot to counteract, because it's all to do with like magnetism and electricity and all these things happen in the earth as well. So it definitely does help your well-being.
It makes me think of like how many people suffer of those headaches and things that they don't know how to explain, and it might be something like that, but they might never be aware of it, right? It's just the exposure to artificial light and everything that kind of triggers a lot on us. How addicted are you to your phone?
How addicted, like on a rank or
on a rank? Yeah.
What's the rank?
I don't know. You tell me the rank. Compared to your friends, it's not gonna work. Compared to the people from the Wilderland, it's not gonna work, because I think the rank is a bit low, the average. But considering that people spend a lot of time on their phones, as we know, you know, is the generation of problems on the neck, because we're all looking down. So how do you deal with because let's not demonize the thing. It's a beautiful tool. We work with this, you know, like without technology, this would not be possible. And we want to create high quality content so people don't have to stay there all the time. But the time that they spend there, it's high quality, it's good stuff that they are digesting, let's put it that way. So, you know, I don't want to give shit to technology, but I know that sometimes it's too much, right? So what's your relationship with it?
I've been like quite anti for like a lot of time.
Everything? No phone, no...
Yeah, like for ages I didn't have... well, mainly because my mum wouldn't buy us a phone, like when we were little. And then she agreed and she bought us one to share. So me and with two teenage girls sharing one, like, you know, basic phone, you know? So then... Yeah, so we did that for quite a while, and then...
Hard to date, eh? Like if someone answers the question...
Well, we were pretty like close, so we're like, we're almost the same at some points in time. So,
Oh, you answer that guy, you answer that boy, you do it, you go.
Yeah, so, then I managed to get like a really somebody's secondhand, really shitty, but a little bit like an Android, you know, and... So I think it wasn't when I always had like maybe a computer available. So if I wanted to do stuff online, I would just use a computer. So that was like, grew up using actually a lot of computers, because my dad did a lot of stuff with the computer. So a lot of like playing Sims all night and researching and videos and things. But I still wasn't too into the phone. Then I went traveling, and then like, I wanted to see what my family were up to and send them pictures. So then WhatsApp, I was using WhatsApp quite a bit.
Very helpful. Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. But it was only at certain times, because there's still technology was kind of like, wasn't that available, and my phone was really low quality, so I couldn't do anything, you know. And then I went when I went to South America, I had the same little shitty phone. Then I got given another shitty phone with a cracked screen. And I still refuse. I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to spend money on it, you know, until I moved back here, maybe like 3 years ago. I was like, I felt ready to like buy my own, like, okay, like decent phone, you know, and like $300 is the most I will spend. I'm horrified. And,
there you go.
and to me, that's like expensive. My partner just bought himself a new phone. He used to spend like $1,000. I'm like, you did what? I was just like mind blown. You know?
You mean at the time or not? Just recently? Sorry,
yeah, a few months ago. Yeah.
Right. Ooh.
Yeah. And that's probably not even that much compared to what's possible. I guess it depends on your needs as well. But yeah, so yeah, I definitely spend like a fair amount on it. We have we use Telegram quite a bit in the community as well. So often you can so many messages in different groups. So sometimes you can go, actually, like, I'll just leave it at home because otherwise you're all the time chatting as well. I don't think I'm that addicted compared to some people, but I have my days and I do actually feel it. I can feel it in my head. I get a bit like, oh, okay, I need to.
Enough.
Yeah.
Enough is enough.
Yeah.
YouTube is amazing, eh? Like you can find so many cool videos and information, especially for what you guys do. I do that all the time. Like sometimes I find a plant, so I want to know about this fruit or whatever, and it's there. It's someone talking about it and teaching you how to do it. You know, like when there's some pests in I'm like, YouTube is.
Oh yeah.
So it's just how you use it, right?
Yeah.
How much energy you want to put into that. And what about the lifestyle? What about the managing life with so many people in a place like you do in the Wilderland? Because it's a community sharing that space, as you said. How does it work?
Yeah, so it's fun and it's like a lot of interactions and it's busy at times and really quiet at other times. You know, it's like there's 15 people living here. Where's everybody? You know, everyone's chilling. You know, it's like a Sunday or something, or everyone's at the beach. So yeah, it has it's a lot of land as well. So you could definitely not see anybody if you wanted. But generally, because we work together, so it's kind of like we do try to work together a lot of the times, and we manage sort of how we organize our days often with others. So you need to check in with that person, and we meet for lunch and things like that. So yeah, it has its challenges because we're sort of together, but it's tricky because we're not family. You know, when you're like family or blood related, it's like we're together because of this. It's like it makes sense, and it's kind of like you have your fights and your things, but you sort of stick together. That carries through, you know. Or if you're just like a cult or a religion, it's like everyone's kind of different, but that carries through, you know. And here it's like everyone's quite different. I mean, there's quite a few New Zealanders and locals, but also a lot of people from around the world, and quite different age groups and backgrounds and things. And so yeah, it's quite interesting all that already, you know, like why are people meeting in this place, you know, which that's a question in itself. But yeah, then just for me, the most interesting thing is what I noticed when I first started. It's like, wow, people are transforming as they come through here, you know. Maybe they arrive really like naive and really like, oh, it's this first thing out of school or out of, you know, the first few years of working, and they just get in, you know, living and working like close to the land and hanging out with other people. And, you know, all of a sudden you're chatting to some guy who's like, you know, a lot older than you, when maybe in normal society people sort of hang out with people your age mostly, you know, that's kind of what's acceptable. Or so here you get to engage with different people, so it's quite cool because you can really learn lots. But yeah, it gets challenging because, you know, we all have our moments and our times and different cycles as well, you know, like lunar cycles and all other forces that sort of affect, or physical things like the women's menstruation cycle that we've noticed, and we pay a lot of attention to that, try to include it in our planning, and just challenges that come up, you know, issues, you know, conflict and triggers and trauma, all that comes into play. So yeah, it's quite a challenge. Yeah, to know how to manage that, how to best provide support, but also empower people to be like, well, your person is your responsibility. How are you gonna deal with this, and how are you gonna work with this and still, you know, be able to be part of this? And so yeah, it's tricky because it's sometimes, you know, you don't know what you're getting, and it's, you know, some forces are pretty strong, some traumas are pretty full on, and just the day-to-day challenges of like, how should we best do this, or which decision, that can turn into this like 5-hour meeting, you know, and people storming out of our rooms like, you know, and so that kind of thing happens. So we haven't had that big dramas, but I can definitely see people and myself, you know, transforming, and that's the most challenging part for sure. Yeah.
Right. Are there families living in Wilderland, or would it be okay, like people with small children, or not really? It's something that you guys avoid?
Well, throughout time there has been families, definitely. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've met a lot of people. It's like, oh yeah, you're up in Wilderland, I grew up, and there's other local families here that had their kids there. Yeah, definitely, it's been a place of families. At the moment, the only family is my mom and her partner and my step siblings, which are not little kids, but they're teenagers. So that's fairly new. So that's actually been a really awesome, because we were missing kind of like the family vibe of it.
Yeah,
and obviously
cool.
She's my mother, so we get to hang out, and that sort of type of dynamic happens.
Right.
Adds something else to the place. So I would love to see more families in the future. Yeah, I mean, I think we're at a stage of like a rebuilding kind of stage. So we are needing crew that can go through the hard times, and obviously having kids, it's its own job in itself. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how people can balance that and as well give a lot of energy to the project itself.
Right.
So
I'm asking because for the people who are not from the Coromandel when are watching this show, there's a lot of new families coming to the Coromandel. So I feel like that there's this wave, like there's all the young people coming to school, you know, and then you have that gap of like not much youth, not many young people, and then it starts again with families coming back, or people starting families, you know, like having little children, and then there's this tricky situation of wanting to experience this fantastic lifestyle because this is so healing and it's such a good place. Well, as the cheesy logo says, you know, good for your soul, whatever it is, great, right? For the soul to be here. So you see a lot of people wanting to experience that. But then there's the struggle of buying land, you know, dealing with a big house and trying to find space, or even renting. It just gets ridiculous nowadays, right? So it was coming to my mind the thing with small houses and sustainable living. Taylor gave me this book. I don't know if you know this guy.
Oh yes,
Bryce Langston. I don't know if you
read this book a little bit before. So.
Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful, yeah.
So I don't know, for the people who are on a journey to buy like a tiny house or sustainable living in a car, living in a van. It's such a cool book, Bryce Langston, and the guy, he travels around the country. It's pretty big in New Zealand, got lots of followings. And I was just buzzing. I'm like, yeah, there are alternatives. There are ways of escaping this thing of like becoming a slave of your own space, of your own, you know, like what you call living. So what's your take on that, on small living, on sustainable housing, and what do you think?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, a part of me was always like, I'm never going to have enough money to buy my own land kind of thing. You know, I was always like, didn't have like a big inheritance or anything like that sort of lined up. So I was sort of always accepting that and not really interested in like, I'll hope to one day buy something and be my own little thing. So then when it came to coming to Wilderland and then learning about how this place has been running and this sort of no ownership idea and just sharing space, like my house is really small. It's not a tiny house officially, but it is a small, and it's really great because you get to really engage with like your environment and then have shared spaces for your practical things, and I think that's really awesome because you really get to engage with the land. I mean, at the moment where I live, you know, we don't pay rent and things like that, and we are working on seeing how this place can offer a solution to other people, because we've been actually talking a lot about tiny homes and things like that, because we have a lot of land available to share, but there are some complexities around what the trust is, made to be and all that. So yeah, I mean, I would love personally to connect more with other spaces and more places like Wilderland and other kind of lands around the country and the world in which we can share, land and facilities and water and things. I guess the challenge is that living together, it's quite a challenge, and that's why I think people choose to have their own home, and you close your door and like you're not bothered by your neighbor. It's like we've come quite a long way from living in communities, like which was the natural way of living before. So it's a whole change here, and having the willingness to go through that process. So yeah, I think it's definitely a way forward in terms of like solutions. But
I think unfortunately it's going to be something that is going to happen because there will be no other way out. I think we're getting to a point that people will be like, what do we do now? So I hope, because like a lot of revolutions come after wars and tragic events in humanity, I feel like it might be a thing, like this communal, these areas of people understanding that it's better to share. It makes more sense instead of owning this huge piece of land that you cannot even look after, and then it's there, and then you're like, oh, but I want to pass to my children. And then the first thing that the children do is to sell. Fuck this. Pass. Dad had this land for years, and now we don't know what to do. And then sell for someone with a lot of money to put more like development or whatever, which like I'm not against, I'm not against people developing areas. I think it fits a purpose of a society that is growing this way, but we can do in a smarter way, right? We can provide a better lifestyle to the people who cannot afford a house, because that's the missing link that a country that doesn't have rates of violence, they don't understand. You come from South America, so we understand that better. This gap that is stretching now, the next step, it's violence. The next step is crime. The next step is like shit happening because people just cannot feed their children. They drink more. So like it's an automatic, it's just a continuation of the, and sometimes it feels like that I'm talking to children here, I'm explaining, but it's not. It's because it's not a concept in New Zealand, there was a pretty violent past with colonization and whatever. But then life got, became this thing that it seems that people are detached to it. Oh no, it's more expensive, but it's expensive for everybody. And you're like, bro, we're all working class, man. Like some people think, oh no, but it's fine. We can travel. We have a good. And I'm like, you working class, bro. Like if you got a salary, man, if you cannot answer my call at 1 p.m., it's because you're working class, man. Isn't it?
Yeah, you're working. You're paying for it.
Yeah, you're working, like, so I really hope that it doesn't take a big catastrophe, for these things to change. I hope that some enlightenment will come from communities like you guys, and more people look at it and say like, well, we can try, especially in a place like here where the soil is good and you can grow stuff, and there's water. Which is going to be rare soon, right? Yeah. Is that a care for water in the Wilderlands, or even for yourself? Like, is it something that I feel like shit's going to happen, man, with water? I don't know. I have this thing. I'm like, what are we doing with the water?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's challenging. We have our things with water for sure. It's a big thing, especially coming into the summer. And I think back in the day it was like it rained so much that nobody thought about water, it just rained all year round in this area. So yeah, I mean, we have a few, we have called a spring that comes from, so yeah, that's really nice because we get really nice water, but it does get quite a lot lower in the summer and when it stops raining a bit. So we are a bit like monitoring it regularly, and we have had our moments, it's not flowing and something got stuck, and there's a lot of land up and down, so often pipes get blocked. And yeah, it's probably the most, like one of the most important jobs that get a bit overlooked. Like it's like, the water just comes out of the tap, but it doesn't. There's like a lot of work to get it there. and it's really great to be close to that. Like for me, I grew up in the land, but then I lived in the city for a lot of my life. So then coming back to, it's not, the water doesn't just come out of the tap. There's a lot of work and learning a little bit about that. I think it'd be awesome if every human had the opportunity to experience like that in their lives, because we just literally just like pour it like it's nothing, and when you have to watch how much you use, you definitely don't look at it like it's nothing, because we can't water the gardens, we can't shower if we don't have that. So
same with power, right? We take it for granted, the extra light that it's on, and it's just, we're paying for all those things, right?
Yeah. So but there's a lot to learn because most people that come as volunteers, they just like learning. There's a few that know about solar, a bit about this and that, but we have so much to learn about like alternative energies and how to figure that stuff. You could build your own house. How do you do all these things? I encourage people to get out there and learn and figure it out, because it feels like at some point something's gonna no more enough power, petrol's gone, electricity's gone.
We're not talking about bunkers. We're not talking about building bunkers. Okay? We're talking about something else. It's a thing, hey. It's a thing. Have you watched those Vice docos and things about like people in the South Island building bunkers and protecting from the apocalypse or fleeing to New Zealand to hide underground? Yeah, we're talking about something a little bit different, but it happens.
And just get to know your neighbors.
Get to know your neighbors.
That would be a good place to start. Like, hi, how's it going? How are you? And actually listen. Yeah.
And listen, active listening.
Yeah.
So hard, eh? Are you good at listening to people?
Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. Depends how like self-aware and
depends
how
what they're talking about.
Caught up, it's like, oh. Yeah, definitely. I gotta be honest, not always. But I it's one of my jobs to like check on people, and especially the people I work closely. I check in and try learning more to check in with myself and practicing what we call this like welcoming. It's kind of like in some way similar to what you're saying, accepting what I'm feeling, but it's even like a step further. Is like inviting it and allowing it to be what it needs to be, and then that's quite fun.
Right. And nothing against the bunkers. If people who are building bunkers want to come and have a chat with me, I would love to know more about that. I saw a study the other day, not a study, I think it was an article that a historian wrote. He was saying that, I don't want to talk shit, but it was something like the best way for humans would be actually living underground. We should be making more use of underground and coming to where we are now to make more use of the land, use stuff, but actually stay
below
the ground. Obviously going out, getting sun, doing all the things, but like the houses should be underground. I was just fascinated by it. I was like, okay, there's a different way of seeing things. It would avoid a lot of shit that we throw in the air. But it was interesting to see a different perspective on how we live. Do you have children?
No, not of my own. I have a nephew though, so that's like my baby in my life. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. How old is he?
He's almost 2 years old now. Yeah. So he lives in Raglan with my sister and their partner. So yeah.
So you're 29, you said.
Almost, yeah.
Almost 29. Yeah. Do you get asked that question? When are you gonna be a mother? When are you gonna marry?
I guess so. Some people do. I guess the circles I move, there's like a lot more acceptances that it's not necessarily the path at my age sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, it does come up, Yeah,
I was talking to my sister because she doesn't have kids. She's a bit older than me. I'm 33, and we were talking like she's all like, feminist for the cause. I am too. I gotta listen to people, gotta respect everybody. But we had this cool chat the other day about how those questions can be offensive for a lot of women. Like sometimes a doctor. Like oh. Haven't had children yet. When are you gonna have? You're aging, like this. What the fuck? I came here to check my lungs, and now you're asking what? I was just curious because I guess for the lifestyle you have and for the way that you see life, like these things don't bother you. But I think for a lot of women, it can be quite, it can put pressure, you know, like, do you think we live in this society that still asks a lot from women, you know, expecting them to be something that it's all like, you know, it comes in a package and that's what it is. That's how life should be. You go to school, you study, you become a mother, you have a life. And how do you see that?
I think it's definitely reduced compared to a lot of our previous generations, but some parts of me feel that that's like an illusion, that it looks like women now are more independent and that they can have their careers and that there's no pressure, but still there's a lot of pressure, I think. And not just for women, it feels like generally like humans, you know, there's boxes and there's this steps, you know, and I mean, I found it challenging because I didn't study in university. I sort of finished school and then I did some jobs and I've done a lot of studies like in courses and my own studies and learned a lot of internships, just learning with like the masters and things like that. So a lot of where I come from, so everyone's like university, you know, and things like that, and a lot of like intellectual women and things like that, and men. And yeah, for them it was really hard to understand, you know, it's like, but such a brilliant, you know, you're intelligent, you can do things, you know, you've had lucky to be like born in, you know, to have a New Zealand access. And yeah, that's for some people it's like, oh, weird, you know, why don't you use that, you know? And I was like, well, I want to do this thing, you know, I'm still learning and I'm still contributing in my way. And yeah, I do have a few friends that have kids as well, and yeah, it feels some of them are a bit stuck in like, oh, you kind of got to please the husband story, and you know, a bit stuck in that, doing the cleaning and like that. And yeah, I try to encourage them to get a balance somewhat, and that, but it's also people's choices as well. So
definitely.
Yeah. It's can be quite a touchy subject with some people. Yeah.
I had to bring to the table.
Yeah.
You know?
No, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I personally, I was there for my sister's birth. She had a home birth a couple of years ago, and I was somewhat involved in the pregnancy in the first few months of after the birth. And wow, what an amazing experience! I would recommend any human to go to a birth experience. Like it would change the way you see women in general and just the human body, what's possible. It's just like, wow. But yeah, I was also wanting to go because like, what is this thing of motherhood and having a child sort of depending on you and all this, and you depending on them, because you know then you're the sole caregiver, and it's like a natural impulse to just really respond to their needs, like emotionally and physically. And yeah, I was like, whoa, okay, I really wanted to do that, to be there to see what it felt like, to be close to it, but not have the experience myself just then, you know, through my sister, because we were pretty close. And yeah, I was like, whoa, okay, yeah, this is not a joke, you know, there's like a pretty serious thing, like someone else's life, that it will turn into an adult or a human, that it will do things and move stuff in the world and become or already is something, you know. And yeah, and a lot of hard work, and like physically the body, it goes through a lot of process.
Was it in the water?
It was in the water, yeah. Yeah. So I was, super beautiful. Like I really, like a lot of people I know, they feel a bit like, oh, scary and kind of gross even, because that's, you know, definitely a lot of stuff around the women's body has been seen as generally the natural body things have been really looked down upon. So I'm all for like exploring and getting into it. Do a lot of, well, I used to, and go through my periods of like exploring like a women's body and learning about like menstruation and what it means, and like really like reconnecting to a lot of that, because there's been a lot of shaming in general throughout time, and generally just knowing what our energy is like. And so yeah, like menstruation and birth are two really good places to start, and not just for women, like for anybody, because we all come from, you know, the womb and things like that. So
it's a shame, isn't it? There's no life without those things, and we still look down on it. We still think it's weird. Even women, as you said, they're ashamed of dealing with that. And damn, gotta change that.
So yeah, get into it, ladies and humans in general. It's like, yeah, it's great. Like just to really appreciate, you know, just our bodies and like what we come from and like how we move in the world. It's like, wow, this is awesome, you know. Like,
there was a time that my sister, she was doing some freelancers, and she was supporting family. She was recording the births, you know, like she would do the thing with the parents first, you know, and then she would be like, of course, there's a limit of what you can or not, but like there was a time that she was doing that, and I remember her coming home. She would come home early when it was a natural birth, and she was happy. My sister was feeling great. She was like, it was beautiful. It was a natural birth. It was quick ass, you know, like, well, quick, I mean, the process of after, you know, like the child's born, mom is feeling great, you know, it's beautiful. You can see that the energy is different. And every time that it was a cesarean, is that the word? Yeah, cesarean, it would be long, and sometimes it would be quite, you know, for her eyes to see that, she was like, whoa, it's a surgery, you know, like, I'm not saying that it should not happen, because we know that it's so essential that sometimes it's necessary to do the cesarean thing. But in Brazil, I'm not too sure about New Zealand, but like in Brazil, it's actually recommended that you go for cesarean, you know, like, and my sister would say, oh, these women would come like with makeup, you know, kind of like pregnant and already, because they're booked for the birth, you know, like that's it, it's happening, boom, and then they were looking like destroyed and taking days to recover, and with marks and everything. And then my mom actually put me into that. She was like, oh, I think there's something with natural birth that it's, you know, it makes more sense. And it sounds silly when you think that it is the way, right? It's been the way for who knows how many years. But we make it as kind of like a business, right? It's like, oh yeah, no, that's the way. That's the way to go. Was that your sister's idea from the beginning? Did you support that when she was like, yeah, we're going to have a home birth, we're going to do it? Was it something that you read about it, you knew it would be the best way to go?
Well, we were both born by natural births. So my mom had some training before. I think she was training to be like a midwife or something. So she sort of invested herself in learning the ways and like all this kind of thing. So we were both born in the land, you know, with like, I think the midwife didn't even get to make it to my birth, because it was like, you know, 11 Ks, and my grandparents were there, my dad was there, and all these kind of things. So we come from that. So we always knew, of course, natural birth is the most normal thing. So that was normal for me and my sister. So I was sort of like a given, really. So she had a full support for me and my mom, and we were both there. Obviously, the midwives, you know, there was midwives as well supporting. They were also, because, you know, it is a skill, really, like, and the way they supported her and all that is really amazing, because we were both like nervous and scared, you know, the way that you can see the pain, you know, her going through pain and all that it's quite hard. You really gotta like keep it together kind of thing, and the midwives really know how to do that. Right. But they were like, if it doesn't, you know, turn by this date, or they had the power to decide if they could take her to the hospital or whatever, you know, if they weren't happy with things. So, which was nice, I guess, in the sense of like safety, but I was sort of, we were really trying to avoid that as much as possible. So trying to, and as one of the midwives was saying, is that the body knows how to give birth. It's like a thing that just the body knows from like generations of doing it, and like knows how to position it herself and how to do everything. They just got to trust, and like, you know, if we don't know ourselves, as we were speaking before, we don't know that we should trust that intuition to do this thing or not to do this thing. So that was really, really beautiful and empowering. So yeah, I hope more people feel empowered to have natural births, because it's a beautiful process. And witness, if you can witness one before you have kids. Before you have kids,
you go and watch one. Ask your friends, can I watch it? Can I? Keep your phone at home. Don't go. Nowadays, whoa, put the phone down. And just before people send messages saying, you don't know the pain of having a natural birth. I don't know. I'm just telling a story of an experience that my sister went through watching
Of course, yeah.
people's reaction. I don't know. I think if you want to have cesarean, you go for it. If you want to have a natural birth, and it's okay. Good on you. Anyway, where Delphy see herself in the future? What do you want to do that you haven't done yet?
Whoa. How far ahead?
I don't know. You tell me. 1 year, 10 years, 20?
Yeah, I mean, now that I'm exploring what I'm learning in this project, I guess I'm super interested in continue to living close to the land and like doing what I'm doing in some way or another. You know, I'd love to keep on learning skills and like physical skills and also like people skills and governance skills, all those things. I feel like there's a lot there because, as you were saying, I feel like the project I'm working on, it's a potential response to and solution to what's coming towards us from the future and to the current world situation. So I think it would be nice to have more places like this all around the world so that we could all live in places that are healthy and that we can connect with each other and grow our own food and exchange and all those goods and services and all that. And that's kind of a big picture dream. So I would love to continue to be part of that in some way. At the moment in New Zealand, it's great. So I am kind of getting the bug of going back to South America. So I'm starting to dream that for next year. I'm going to be 30, and also one of my best friends is giving birth again. So
You want to watch another one?
yeah, exactly. I need to get my quota. So yeah, and also to just reconnect with the land. And now that I've lived different experiences, I feel like I have just more to contribute, and also to learn what communities are doing over there and things like that. Get into more of the dance and drumming that is happening like in some parts of South America. A little bit more traveling, but traveling with some sort of purpose as well, not just like traveling for fun, kind of like how can I give something, and also maybe continue to make more of a connection between New Zealand and South America, because I feel like it's kind of part of my duty as well as being born kind of a half caste. It's like, I can just translate, because imagine if we could, people from here could go to communities over there or whatever, so yeah, I would love to be able to just do more art, like dance more and facilitate spaces in which people can do that and play music and then enjoy outdoors. So kind of like something with art, natural spaces, community living,
Cool.
something like that, family and friends.
Count on us for this project with with other countries, because that's one of the things that Taylor and I we envision. We see obviously collaboration among communities here, but it's just a big community in the world, right? So and we have some viewers from Brazil, obviously, like we have this project of the videos in Portuguese, translating the videos. So there's a lot of people asking actually in Brazil, which is cool.
Yeah.
So we know that and come on, we're talking about a tropical country, right? So for people from the Wilderland, it would be like, whoa, coming to a country where everything grows and it's beautiful. So we see a lot of these connections happening in the future. So like, just keep us in mind, especially because we're focusing on online interaction, but aiming to meet people. You got to start here, you got to play smart with the technology, but you want to actually connect and see what's happening out there in the world. So keep us in mind. I'm gonna ask you a question, and then I'm gonna check our live chats, because apparently there are some comments on questions, but I'm gonna leave another question with you.
Sure.
You experienced a South America lifestyle, New Zealand lifestyle. What do you miss from that South American lifestyle or the culture that is different from New Zealand?
Yeah. Where to start?
The list.
Yeah, just forgot my papyrus. I guess I would say it feels like the whole country is a bit more like a one big family in one sense. Feels like it's easier to get closer with people. Like, you know, there's more opportunities for intimacy and friendship, and people open their doors to you and in such ways. I mean, obviously it depends, and it's not everyone's like that. It really depends what you're bringing, but obviously we have, as you would know, like we greet with a kiss on the cheek, so that already creates like, oh cool, a bond, and then it's a lot easier to relax into conversation. There's a lot of importance in greeting and saying goodbye. So I do love that, like meeting people and like, you know, like in the group you're acknowledged quite fully, and when you leave you say goodbye to everybody, you thank people. I miss that, and I think it's definitely in the last few years I've met a lot more people who love that, like being closer and all that.
Yes.
But culturally, I was at first I was quite shocked. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely as being closer, you know, like a bit more physical contact and things like that. Just like celebrations, you know, like country festivals and fairs, markets. Yeah, I love that aliveness of that, you know. Yeah, I think a lot of places around the world as well. I think in Asia and in Europe as well. But South America, just love, you know, there's just like music going on, and it's all very like, it's pretty real. It's like, it's not that pretty, you know. It's like, it's a bit rough and it's a bit run down, but really alive and abundant, you know. And I love hanging out in like small towns and meeting like the local people and just chatting to their like stories, like pretty, you know, simple stories, and but really rich.
Yes.
So yeah, I love that simplicity and the roughness of it as well, because people, you know, live pretty in some conditions as well. Sometimes they're pretty like you know, not as privileged as a lot of people in New Zealand as well. You know, they really work hard for very little pay, and they still manage to like offer you a cup of tea and a piece of bread, and they don't question that.
You share what you have.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. There's this artist in Brazil. He's one of the biggest singers in Brazil of all times, like Caetano Veloso.
Oh yes.
Caetano Veloso.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. My dad was a big fan, so yeah.
Claro, of course. And I was watching an interview the other day, and he was saying that this guy from a poor favela from one of the slums in Brazil, I don't know what happened, but he made some money. I don't know. I don't remember exactly the whole story, but I remember that the guy made some money, and then he got everything and threw a party, like a huge party for the community. And then he fed everyone for that one night or two, because in Brazil probably parties will last for a bit longer than one night, you know. So, and then I think someone came to the guy and asked, "Oh, why did you do that? You know, like you got the money and then you threw a party." And then he was like, "If life was easy, we would not have to party. You know, like we party because life is hard. You know, living in a place like this, it's not easy. So like you don't miss the opportunity to party. You know, like and I think it explains a lot, like." That's why anxiety, suicide rates and everything, like they're actually smaller in poor countries, because people are already in the shit. If you attach to that shit, you're fucked. So you might as well go hard and celebrate when you can and share when you can, you know, like, and that comment, like it's set in my mind for so long, you know. I was like, man, life is hard. That's why we party. Life's hard. This is why we, you know, like like celebrate the moments, you know, because sometimes you find yourself, it's like me in New Zealand, like what an amazing opportunity to experience peace, you know, like to not have to check over my shoulder all the time, you know, like, and for a lot of people it will never be like that. Last night we went to the Monkey Theater to watch a video about Ukraine, and it was actually from 2014. From when they had like they were trying to get Yanukovych, the president, out of power and everything. And regardless of what's happening right now, of course, we send a lot of solidarity and love to the people in Ukraine. But like, just to watch, just to see conflicts, you know, just to experience that, you know, through a screen, it's so painful, it's so hard, you know. And then you think, wow, like we really have to be appreciative and praise the moments that we are at peace. You know, like don't miss the opportunities to acknowledge those things, right? Yeah. So I think that's why maybe when you say those things like, oh, South America, you know, like, because people don't have much there anyway, you know, so it's, the thing with sharing comes maybe a bit more naturally. We got some cool things here from Graham. Shout out to Graham, watching all our shows, man. Thank you. What is the turnover rate for a place like Wilderland?
Turnover rate.
So, and I also Googled turnover rates, just in case. So in the context of human resources, turnover is the act of replacing an employee with a new employee. Partings between organizations and employees might consist of termination. I guess he means like the cycle of people living and spending time. Graham, you correct us if that's not what you meant, but that's what I got from his question. Thanks, by the way.
Cool, yeah. Well, it's been a bit varied throughout the years, but since I've been there, we have about, well, he wants a number, doesn't he? But I can just explain a bit. We have like 1 month terms and 3 month terms and 6 month terms and 1 year kind of thing. So there's a lot of turnover of people between 1 to 3 months. So that's like, 10 to 15 people like every 6 months are changing. And then maybe 5 of us, for example, they've been there for more than 2 years. Those are the ones that are there for more than 2 years, and the rest have just changed. So we have I don't know, I couldn't possibly think of it right now, but it's quite a high turnover.
Cool. And most people, they come for the experience, right? They come to spend some time, to learn, to give, to take, and they move on. In your case, you became a trustee, so you're putting more love and efforts into the project. I believe most people would come for an experience, maybe to see if that lifestyle would suit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, definitely. A lot of people come to like, oh, I'm just wolfing, just a break from work, and I just want to learn some things and share. Other people see, oh, this could be somewhere I could live, but I need to see it first, so they don't commit too much. And it is a bit like that, because you do have to stay long enough to see what challenges come up. And I've met already in 2 years so many people. I think I can still remember everyone's names because I'm quite good at that, but it's starting to get blurry. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thanks for the question.
Thank you. And we got, and that's what he meant. Thanks, Graham. Okay. So he just confirmed that, we were right. And then we have a question from Gabe. Gabe, also another loyal viewer of our show. Thanks for your support, Gabe. Do you have a deadline to be living at Wilderland? Do you feel that people, so that's kind of similar to what you said, but probably more personal, if you have a deadline for the time you be living at the Wilderland, and do you feel that people out of your community gives you that weirdo look?
Deadline, I don't have one at the moment. I think at the beginning I did. I was like, oh, if it doesn't work out by 1 year, then I'm like gonna check it out. I think I have like a 3-year commitment by being in the trust, so I'm happy to do that. It just, every year that I stay, I notice that it takes time to make change. It takes time to know what are the issues and how to put your energy into things, and finding the crew and refining. It's like I don't know, like a relationship, like a romantic relationship, or like a garden. It takes time to get to know how to interact with it and how to relate to it. So the more I stay, the more I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, I could see myself doing that for like years, for sure. But I also acknowledge that Wilderland is also a place for people to experience, for many people to experience it as well. So, I mean, my term gets reviewed just like everyone else's. So after I've done my official time, that gets reviewed and gets, I get feedback, or we feedback each other or whatever. So there's definitely an opportunity, if my contribution is not fair anymore, that I might have to leave, or I might choose to leave. So that way we keep, the people who are helping and supporting the project. So it's not like I'm bought in because I paid, or because, And I could also, if I wanted, like I just go hide in my house and not turn up for ages, and then they'll have to come and bring me and kick me out. You know, like it's definitely happened in the past, and it could happen.
Really?
So I won't go into detail, but it's
Oh, damn! Come on! So people were hiding in the.
Well, not hiding, but
You don't have to give names.
No.
You don't have to give names.
No, I'd rather not.
Just a
I
good
don't want to
start.
get in trouble.
But people kind of pretended that they were not that anymore. They just.
Well, yeah, there's been issues, and maybe people were like asked to leave for X and X, and they sort of refused. And yeah, it took some time. You know, the trust supported them, and it took more time to then get them to go. Because it's all, this is like, who decides? The people decide, you know, because the trust is still made out of a bunch of people.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not like the boss just has the final word. It's still, there's a lot of room for, and there's compassion and there's like human aspects. So it's not that simple to be like, you gotta go, you know, so. Yeah.
I got the idea, bro. We're gonna put cameras there and do the hippie Big Brother.
Oh yeah, it'd be so
Hey.
entertaining. Yeah.
You were so entertaining.
In some way.
She's not saying, but maybe the person left in a bag. That was the way to get the person out of the. I'm joking.
Yeah.
Do people look at you with that weirdo look?
Well, I don't interact too much with like the actual Whitianga town, except at the markets. I'm very much like a bit of a
Markets and ALTBAYS. That's it. That's your go-to. If it's
yeah,
it's
ALTBAYS,
here
exactly.
and
it's either like low key or like out there. So
Score.
so I don't. Yeah, obviously went to Magri Bay and I worked in a few places, so I know some people, but I haven't. I don't know how much people are aware of who I am these days. You know, it's been a few years since I've like
They will
engaged.
be now.
Yeah, they will definitely now. If you went to school with me, hello. So maybe at the markets sometimes, you know, when you're like barefooted and not wearing a mask, sometimes people are like, but mostly people are really interested actually, and they just want to ask and want to like understand, and especially if you tell them a bit more, then like, oh, okay, what's that? So maybe they look at me funny because of like my hairy legs that I don't shave, and that's a lot of people at Wilderland kind of explore with like just being more natural. So I try not to pay too much attention so I don't get bothered, but yeah, it's happened for sure.
I there was that actually happened, I think, a few years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. But I follow a page on Instagram, and they bring like old school articles and pictures. And one was a beautiful picture from Leonardo DiCaprio when he was young. He was a child. And his mom, I think she was also a bit of like a more alternative living. And it's such a beautiful picture, but she's got her arms up, and then you can see that she's got hair in her armpits, and like the whole attention went to the armpits of Leonardo DiCaprio's mom. Like no one talked about, you know, like the beautiful childhood that maybe he had, you know, very different from a lot of actors and musicians, because a lot of them developed that thing with being an artist coming from a trauma background because they were fighting a feeling, you know, like there was something that was happening at home, you know, like no one mentioned the beauty of having a happy childhood and having support from your family to become whoever you want to be. They were focusing in the hair, in the armpits. And is there anything more natural than growing hair? Is what the body does, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I would encourage anybody to like explore with that, especially women, because it's like one of those other societal pressures, like, you know, having the kids and that kind of thing, studying and all that, even just as an experiment to see what it feels like. And for me, it was definitely a journey of like self-love and acceptance, and then I can choose when and how and why, you know. It's not because I want to be accepted by society and I'm like fitting within that box of like being attractive in a certain way or being acceptable. So, but it's very hard. It's a lot of entrainment for many years. And I would definitely encourage people to start in small ways and see what it feels like. Because it's actually a lot of hard work. It's like, you know, shaving or waxing or whatever. It's like, it's hard work. You know, it's like you got to keep at it. It doesn't stop growing. So it's like, why are we doing it, you know? And
it actually protects your skin, right?
Yeah.
I was reading about beard, about growing beards, and it's actually protecting a very sensitive part of our skin. So it makes sense, right? And nature will get a lot of hair out of you, as I am experiencing it. You know, some people don't have to rush
Yeah.
that process.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Some people will lose hair.
Just wait. Yeah.
Some people will have hair. You know, just live with it. It's all good. I'm loving this chat. Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Yeah, it's been super fun.
I wanna finish with something that maybe you will bring some light to a lot of people and maybe some advice. I don't know. You told us that you grew up kind of in this lifestyle. So for you, it's very natural to talk about it. And you see all these things that you do like as just life as it is, you know, like there was no secrets, there was no like enlightenment or I went vegan, I started doing this or that, and then it changed. No, it's just a sequence of the way that you were brought up. But we know that the majority of the people in the world didn't have this opportunity. They have different ways of living, and we accept differences and everything. However, it's very hard to come across people who don't believe that we should be living in a more sustainable world. You know, like even when we are doing things that are damaging the environment or whatever, sometimes it's just what it is as a system, as something that, you know, this is what you do. So every time you get into a more like deeper conversation, people understand those things, you know, people know that it's actually better to get some sun. People know that it's better to eat a little bit healthier. People know that it's better to look after the water, right? So if someone would come to you asking for like first easy steps to getting to a better mindset, to feel better about yourself, like what would you say? Where would you go first? Would you go for the breathing? Would you go for the eating? Would you go for the pay attention to what's happening around you? If you had to give like easy first steps to see some changes in yourself, I don't know if it's a tricky one, but yeah, because it can be so broad, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But like you pick, like what do you think that really matters?
Well, it obviously depends on where you are and how much capacity you have to access things. And I think, as I said before, turning the focus inwards. So any practice that might help you, you know, connect to your body, for example, your breathing, you know, so could be meditation, could be yoga, could be qigong, could be Tai Chi, could be going for a walk on the beach and just focusing on that, away from the phone, you know, away from the work, gossip or whatever. Just like more moments in the day in which you can attempt to put your attention inwards and just try notice what's coming up and just invite it in and be like, okay, cool, this is, and just breathing deeply more often. Because actually, and a lot of teachers talk about this, a lot of the answers are like within us, you know, it's we know what to do. We are nature itself, you know, we're part of this, the world itself. We are the world, you know, we're sort of part of the organism of the world. So it's not we're separate. We're made out of the same components, if you want to look at it that way, or energetically, like we're all atoms. So if you want to get more like physics kind of thing. So that's how I would look at it. They're very simple, like looking for moments in which you can connect more to like inwards, and creating space for that. So if that means creating a little space in your house in which you can access that like sacred time for you, whatever that means, 'cause that might mean different things for people, or spending more time in nature more regularly and away from things that distract you. Just like, hey, and if it's sadness, if it's anger, and if it's gratefulness, and just like paying attention, what is that, you know, and that's like inviting it in. That's then you'll know what it is that you need to do. I think the other practical, like the foods, and that's all like beautiful and necessary, but I think you'll know what to do if you know what's going on here.
Great. It's funny because we had a few amazing guests coming here, and they all talk about the breath. You know, people who get in touch with that, they really like to talk about that, because that's where we all connect. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, what you do, your age, it doesn't matter. We connect through the breath. we all do it constantly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what keeps us alive. Isn't it?
Yeah. So it's interesting that you bringing it up to tap into that and see. Have you read the book Breath by James Nestor?
No,
It's a
actually.
fantastic book. If you have the chance, I'll give you the name after.
Okay, yeah,
and
cool.
for our friends watching it, it really changed my journey because I started doing the Wim Hof, the power breathing and the cold therapy and everything. But when I get into a guy who did the research and went through, because he goes hard, like he goes back in history and he starts to explain how our the shape of our heads and our skulls are changing because of our shallow breath,
Yeah.
you know, because it's a generation. We always say, oh, you know, we're evolving and medicine is fantastic, but we're quite sick and fragile compared to people from you know, ancient times. And it's a fascinating book. You know, he does experiments of breathing through his mouth for a long time, and that shows how much damage he does to himself. And then he spends a lot of time just nose breathing, and it's fascinating. So yeah, I'll give you the
send me
name.
that. Yeah, that sounds cool.
I think you'll like it.
Yeah.
We got one more. You already gave us the websites, but I'll just ask you to give us a little bit more information about the Wilderland. So Gabe said, because you answered his question, he's like, oh, awesome.
Cool.
I feel like I should be quitting everything tomorrow and move to Wilderland. So he's asking about the website. So if you don't mind, just giving us a little bit information, a little bit more information about where to find the products from Wilderland and how to get in touch with you guys. I guess you can just come and book a visit or something, just to I don't know, you tell us how to get in touch.
Okay, cool. I guess we have a website. It's wilderland.org.nz. So that's a cool place to start, and just gives you quite a wide overview. And then you can click in there. There's a volunteer page, and then you can see if you want to volunteer, you can send us an email, or if you want to go to shop, you can look at we have our online shop with products that we make ourselves, so we can post them all around New Zealand and sometimes to other parts of the world too. We used to supply Germany with quite a lot of honey and herbs, so it's definitely possible. And what else? We also have a couple of Facebook pages. Cool. And there's really one, if you're like want to know what's happening like in the community, what kind of like fun projects or projects we're doing. There's the Wilderland community page, and that's like it's a private group, so we accept you or not,
request, yeah.
And then it's a more close, so that we put photos of what we're doing, and
are you the one who select who is in or not? If I request, are you gonna?
No, it's not me, but I'll put in a good word. We usually accept most people, especially if they answer the question. So yeah, cool. Answer the question.
If they're a bit weirdo in the profile pic.
I guess it doesn't matter too much. Yeah,
I'm joking.
Yeah, I guess it's like so you get to see and you get to engage with us a bit in that level, and that's fun because you get to see what we're actually up to. And we also have a Facebook page as Wilderland, and that's just more for like shop and sales and things like that. So yeah. And we also have a shop in 2486 Tairua Whitianga Road. So that's like, if you're in Whitianga, you're going towards Tairua or towards like Hot Water Beach, you'll see us on the side of the road. So there's a few signs before, not too many, so you kind of have to go a bit slower. And so yeah, we have a shop there. We're open every day at the moment, so from 9 to 4. So yeah, there will be one of us there, so you can access our products and our
Corogland Farmers Markets every Sunday.
Yeah, every
It's
Sunday.
about to finish, right? Easter.
Yeah, Easter.
So hurry up.
Yeah,
you still got time.
Yeah.
And sometimes in Whitianga.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, I think we haven't for a while, but yeah, definitely every Sunday. So yeah, there's quite a few places you can get in touch, and if you have questions or want to know more, just you can get in touch through all the Facebook, all the emails and things. So yeah, we don't do a lot of like actual tours because we often we're just busy,
Yeah.
But if you let us know in advance, and we can organize something, it's just nice to know so somebody can be there. And
definitely.
And obviously you guys as friends, would invite you to come for a lunch or come and hang out and check it out. So yeah,
we really want to. Yeah, I really want to. Like I've been in this journey with paying more attention to what I eat, and fruit is such a big part of my diet. And I'm like, I have to go to the Wilderland and see what's happening there.
Yeah.
And I'll just tell a quick story to finish because I made the joke. Oh, I gotta look a bit weird to be part of the Wilderland.
see, yeah.
Sounds like I'm giving shit to the Wilderland, but actually, I have so much appreciation for what you guys do. And one of the coolest stories from this 8 years that I've been in Fitianga was Hula Cafe in town. Every summer, they invite Stu and I to play outside. They have this external area, beautiful area, and. Let's Go Descarrego, my duo. I remember we were setting up and we always invite our friends. And at the time, Joanna Hobber, she was living at Wilderland. Sweetheart, one of my favorite humans in the world.
Yep.
Love you, Joanne.
Yeah, love you, Joanne.
Amazing dancer, New Zealand artist. Like, it's just woof. And I knew she was around, so I invited her to come to the show. And then she brings like this crew of the Wilderland. Like, you know, like this, I was like, whoa. And Stu and I, we're used to start the show, you know, not slow, but like we play a bit more like easy songs, you know, like for people are sitting and, you know, like kind of like getting the vibe. And we usually do like 2 or 3 sets, depends on our vibe, especially if it's a show at a friend's place, like Hula, we can do whatever we want, you know. Second song, all the people from Wilderland was already on the dance floor, like going hard, man, hard. And I looked at Stu, we were like, that's us, man. We're going for the sprint. It's definitely not a marathon tonight. And we just played like, we didn't take breaks. We didn't stop.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was probably like 2 hours and a half of the most amazing set, and obviously that was contagious, you know, like, so I remember I couldn't see the ends of the crowd. It was so cool.
Awesome.
It was so cool. And like all the people from Wilderland at the front, like dancing and going crazy. I was like, yeah. So yeah, much love
Cool.
and appreciation
Yeah, it's a great story,
to Wilderland. Thank you so much for what you guys are doing. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Leo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome to see you again, reconnect after years that we've known each other. So
That's right, yeah.
And thanks for inviting me to chat about what I'm up to and update people on who am I these days and what am I doing. So don't be scared if you see me on the streets. It's only hairy legs. It's like
They won't bite you, eh?
Yeah.
They won't bite you. Cool. Send my love to Mom, to Venus.
Yes, will do. Thanks.
And for the beautiful people from
Yes.
the Wilderland for giving us these amazing treats. And I know that there are interesting cats there who have knowledge about very interesting things. So we'll be in touch because we might bring some more people from there to have a chat.
Yeah, definitely. That'll be awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. And thanks over there too.
Thanks, Taylor. So thank you guys so much. As you know, we're live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. You can watch these videos as soon as they finish. They stay on YouTube. We're also live on Twitch, and we upload the shows next day. So tomorrow it will be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Pandora, all the podcast platforms. ALTBAYS is there. The best way to find out what we're up to, it's on our social medias. We're in all of them as well. So just check it out. And I think this is week 6 of our shows. And again, it's so cool how the response is positive towards what we're doing. I don't want to give any spoilers, but there's something amazing coming on week 10. That's all I have to say. So stay tuned. Sorry, Taylor? And again, best way to support us, subscribe to our videos, to our YouTube channel, and check the ALTBAYS clips. We're putting a lot of love and effort into breaking these interviews into small clips because people ask us to. Everybody was like, oh, the interviews are great, but they are long. Can you break them into clips? And we're like, yeah, we can. But now we hope that people watch and give us some support. If you want to be a supporter of the show, just send us a message. There are a lot of cool projects that we're getting into, and some of them are paid things. Some of them are non-profits, but for the community. So, yeah, we just want to do cool things together. So just reach out. And, yeah, that's it. I will see you on Wednesday with another amazing guest sitting here with Leo. Thanks, Delphy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Papa. Ciao. Peace.
ALTBAYS.